Keeping venomous reptiles is an unforgiving hobby, requiring proper training and lots of experience. One simple mistake can be the difference between life and death. Remember, the most venomous snake in the world is the one that just bit you. There are no venomous snakes with training wheels. Just because you see viperkeeper handle snakes a certain way does not mean you should try it too.
Hi, Mr. Puffy. I don't want Mr. Puffy to slam the glass. Mr. Puffy is certainly expecting a treat. Actually, even after I give him a treat, he expects me to give him another one. So let's see if he's interested. Again, I try not to get them to strike out of the cage, but sometimes you can't really get around that particular angle. So this is a puff adder from Africa. They're quite variable. They have different colorations and patterns depending on the region of Africa that they come from. They are all very cantankerous, have potent cytotoxic and hemotoxic venom. As a matter of fact, I just saw a post that this young lad was bitten by a puff adder in Africa and didn't survive the bite. Puff adders probably bite more people in Africa than most other the venomous snakes because they're quite common. Puff adders hold the record that's known for the number of live births given at one time. I think the record stands at 168 babies. Now it would probably behoove you to just let that go and not fold it in half and try to swallow it there, bud. But this is a puff adder. I'm not going to try to take his rat from him.
I'm not going to argue with him.
He's one of our favorites here at the lair because he's somewhat personable and will come to the glass and act all tough and stuff. Lori has a good time visiting with him on a daily basis. But I'm not going to try to help him out figuring out how to eat that. So we're going to shut the door and move on to our next animal that gets fed today at the lair. The main task is to move around some of these bin dwellers. I want to sort of decommission and put away these bins. Want to really sort of move these snakes upstairs to where they are in a more climate controlled room. This is sort of the overflow room. Now these are tricky. Hopefully she's not going to bolt and do anything really bad. That's why I've got the grippers, because death adders don't normally like to sit still. So up the stairs we go. Rather than disturb the snake twice by taking it out of this bin and I know. She's severely butthurt. But yeah, rather than taking her out, putting her in a bucket or in another bin, and then taking her out of that bucket once she gets upstairs, we will take a chance and move her like we did. We always have the small Times.com grab stick, which works really well, is very gentle on the animal. It's well padded, and I can precisely control how much pressure. And of course, we only use the amount of force necessary to restrain the animal. These are third generation death adders born here at my facility in 2016. And unfortunately, I have two females. This is one, and I don't have a unrelated male, so I currently can't breed them. So this is a problem, and I can't remember the last importation from Indonesia that happened. She's got good weight, so if she gets butthurt and decides not to eat for a couple of weeks, there's no worries at all. So we've got a second death adder to move upstairs, actually her sister. So we're going to do that next. Death adder number 2. Ah, we're caught alluring. We really think we're going to get something to eat. Well, hopefully it's not my fingers or wrist or something like that. Huh?
Oh, and she's doing such a good job.
Yes. Well, today's, the normal day of where food is presented. So this is a normal activity for her.
She's just realized that there's no food coming.
This is unusual. So I think I'm going to make a mess of things. And off we go up the stairs. Alright, she's on the move. Death adders don't normally hook very well, but in this case she did. So we will, since she's heading to the back, you can safely go over there and shoot. These are Acanthopus laevis from here in Jawa, Indonesia. Smooth death adders. They come from the wet side of the island, unlike rugosus, which you've seen before. They come from the drier regions. And again, she was born here. I'll put her stickers on her cage as soon as we're done filming. It's F3 generation. So that means that her parents were captive snakes. They bred here, had offspring. Then I bred unrelated pairs of the offspring and produced her. So those are the snake ID numbers when they came into the collection. It's just Deadly Beautiful Zoological, June 5th, 2016. This was the second animal of the group that came in, and not a particular acquisition. So she can move around, and actually compared to downstairs, the humidity and temperature in this room is controlled in a much better fashion. The humidity generally stays about 50% in the room. Each cage has its own misting system, which absolutely the snakes hate. Even snakes that are like, you know, the gaboon and rhino viper that are semi-aquatic, the water cobras, they all hate it. They live in tropical rainforests, but they don't like getting their face all wet. There you go, girlie. They have such beautiful facial markings. And as you can see, she is well fed and quite robust. And at this time of year in January, if I had males that weren't related, I would breed these two girls to produce some babies. Babies are always quite fun to get eating, but they're quite nice, and they're really, really enjoyable snakes, of course, unless you get bit. They're highly neurotoxic. Brian Fry describes as he was going in and out of consciousness, he was hallucinating and quite euphoric from a death adder bite. This is a related death adder. This is, of course, Acanthopus antarcticus, the Australian common death adder. The venom compositions are probably slightly different, but I stock anti-venom for these, as well as all the Australian snakes that I have in the collection. So this is good. She's moving about. She doesn't seem to be too upset or butthurt. I think I'll give them a week off before I offer food, even though I'm pretty certain by tomorrow morning she would be settled in and ready to eat something. Something could be chicks, something could be rat pinks, mice, usually hopper-sized mice, because you know, they really don't get a lot of exercise. They're ambush predators, they're landmines, they just sort of hang out. And this is actually the most I've seen her move in quite some time. So she's going to investigate. She's got a nice piece of cork bark to hide under, but you know, these guys burrow under the substrate quite often and disappear that way rather than hiding under